The Uniparty is upset with Tucker Carlson because he destroyed their January the 6th narrative. Now, I knew that the Democrats would be upset, mainly because they're the ones mainly that push the narrative 24/7. That January 6th was worse than 9/11. It was worse than the Civil War. It was worse than you name it. Any catastrophe that we've had, any war that we've had, January the 6th is worse than that. So it was mainly Democrats, people, Kamala Harris even said it. All the people, all the pundits that go on CNN and MSNBC, and all the Democrat politicians, along with, of course, what's our girl that got kicked out of, what's her name, Liz Cheney, and that guy, Adam Kissinger, those two rhinos. But it was mainly Democrats pushing this narrative. But what we learned, what we learned is after Tucker Carlson showed those clips, and then he said these words right here. This is what triggered people. He said it was a mostly peaceful protest. It wasn't an insurrection, even though we should have known that, because it couldn't have been an insurrection because nobody had any weapons, okay? And it was mostly peaceful, okay? When he said that, what we learned is how much the Republican rhinos were in on this. When I say in on this narrative, even if they weren't all the way in on the setup, because we know that it was a setup, because FBI Director Wray will not answer directly every time he's asked by members of Congress if he had FBI people in with the crowd agitating. He won't answer that. So that tells you, yes, that's true. So you had FBI people involved in it, you had Antifa involved. We know this, even though nobody will come out and say this. Okay. So, but we learned that the rhinos were in on the narrative because they hate Trump, okay? So the narrative was, it was worse than 9/11. This thing was horrible. And then Tucker Carlson comes out and says, from looking at these videos, it was a mostly peaceful protest. But what really got him is when he said they lied. They lied about the police officer that supposedly got beat in the head with a fire extinguisher and died and was killed, and there he was inside the Capitol building directing traffic. So when he said we were lied to, that infuriated them because liars hate to be exposed. A liar hates to be exposed. They imploded. I mean, they went nuts when he said that. I mean, they exploded, I guess I should say. But the lie imploded. But they exploded. They couldn't stand that. So this is what upset me the most about this thing. When this was brought before, when somebody asked Mitch McConnell how he felt about it, he was furious and he said this. He was upset with Tucker Carlson for saying it was mostly peaceful because it didn't line up with he was holding up this piece of paper, okay, with some writing on it, a list of things. He said, and what Tucker Carlson said didn't line up with this. Didn't line up with this. So what that's telling me is it didn't line up with the narrative written on that piece of paper. That's his only concern. He was so angry that it didn't line up with what this was said right here. So it has to line up with what that said, even though what's on there is a lie. We're supposed to ignore what we see with our own eyes and make it line up with this. And that's what his complaint was. And then, of course, Mitt Romney got mad. A lot of other rhinos got mad. But what it showed is they were in on the narrative, the lie, because they hated Trump. And somehow they want to attach that to Trump when they know that Trump had nothing to do with 9/11. They know that, 9/11. He had nothing to do with January the 6th. They know that. They all know it. In fact, Trump was briefed the day before or 2 days before that something was coming down. And he said, okay, if something's going to happen, let's get the National Guard in. He said that. They refused the National Guard. Everybody knows this. So how could he be setting up an insurrection and trying to stop it at the same time? They know that. They know that it was all set up by Nancy Pelosi and the FBI and all these other people. We don't know who all's involved. Because what? They had a camera crew ready. How do you have a camera crew ready to film an insurrection? How is that possible? And then you have photos of Nancy Pelosi's, they say that's her son-in-law, posing with the guy with the horns, the shaman, whatever you call it, posing with him outside the Capitol building. And this guy's been in jail for how long already? For supposedly, I guess, I don't even know what his crime is. I don't even know what he's been convicted of. But we learned this. But we learned how angry our own, and I expect Democrats to be mad that the narrative fell apart. But when you see Republicans angry like that, you know that they were in on this. You know, or in on the narrative and nothing else, or in on just letting it happen. Even if they didn't help coordinate it, they were in on, we're gonna let this happen. We're not gonna stop this. We're gonna let this happen because this is gonna make Trump look bad. This is what the whole thing is about. And so then we get Mike Pence. He exploded this weekend at some kind of dinner with journalists. They have once a year, I guess. And he was there. And he said, January 6th is going to go down in history as Trump being behind it. Basically, it's going to make Trump look bad in history. Why did he get so upset? Because he was in on the narrative too. And it's very disappointing, even though we suspected it. Trump supporters suspected all of this. This is nothing new to us, but it still hurts. To me, it hurts when it's being, when you see it exposed right there before your eyes, and the people that you voted for, that duped you, that you thought were decent people, when you find out that they're angry that the truth is getting out. They're angry that the truth is getting out. What does that tell you about them? Anybody that's angry that the truth is out is no good. I don't care how much they profess to be a Christian. You should be saying, well, you know what? I'm glad he, showed the videos. I'm glad that Tucker Carlson did this so we can really see what happened. Because, maybe I didn't see it all and I was believing it, but now I see that it didn't happen like that. That's what good, honest people with integrity will say. They will not get angry when the truth is put out. So that's showing you that they were in on this lie. They were in on it. So here we are now trying to figure out. So now, this is another thing. Democrat, because Tucker Carlson kept referring to everything as a lie. The man that's over this January 6th committee came out and said, well, we really didn't look at that footage. Now, do you believe that? So now it makes him look like we were just incompetent, but we're not liars. See, it's better to look incompetent to people than be an outright liar. So they want their people to continue to believe their lies. So they had to say, they couldn't admit that, yes, we saw it, but we just lied, which is exactly what happened. We'll just say, we didn't view that. My bad. We just didn't see it. We said that, but we misspoke. That's what they want. They would rather look incompetent than be a liar, because once you come out as being a liar and people see you as a liar, then you won't have any more, you won't be able to say anything else. So a lot of people believe that. They say, well, they're angry with them for not viewing the footage. But I don't believe they didn't see it, people. Look what they did with Josh Hawley. They cut that one. They showed him running out as though he was the only person running from the so-called insurrectionists, when it was really, he was the last one to run out. That the police, the Capitol Police were getting them all out of there, trying to evacuate them, and he was the last one. So they cut that one up. So do you actually believe they didn't see all the other one when the protesters were being escorted, let in, as a matter of fact, let in through the doors by the Capitol Police, and they're just walking in with their flags, and that's it. They had no weapons. They had nothing, just their flags, and they was picking up brochures, and they were and that shaman man, I guess that's what you call him, with the horns, he was being escorted from, they even opened doors for him and let him go in places. All of this was seen on this video. So now they're saying, well, they didn't show all of it with the shaman. I guess he was violent at first. That's what they want us to say. He came in there violent and fighting, and then he calmed down. And so what we saw is, I guess, after he calmed down, and they were just ushering him around, giving him a tour, basically. So this is what I wanted to say about this entire thing. I just wanted to speak out on it because I want people to understand that both parties are in on this. The Uniparty are in on this narrative, and they're upset because it's being destroyed. A narrative. Again, good, honest people do not get upset when the facts come out. Even if they didn't know the facts, even if they prejudged or they only had seen a certain amount of videos and that's all they saw. When they see the rest, you don't get angry. You say, oh, okay. Well, just like Naomi Wolf. She's a liberal journalist, and even she's admitting that she's been lied to, that she's believed lies, and she named every lie, the Russia hoax. I mean, she went down the list, which doesn't make sense to me to be a journalist, and you did not know all those things were lies when we know, and we're not journalists. I mean, all you had to do was do some research. But I guess she believed her own people, which are liberal journalists. So when they said something happened, she just accepted it and didn't do her own research. But even she is admitting that it's a lie. Yes, still Mitch McConnell is not admitting it's a lie. None of the people on none of the people on the team, the January 6th team, they're not admitting it. She's come out and said it's a lie. A liberal journalist is saying it. Mitch McConnell didn't say it was a lie. Mitt Romney didn't say it's a lie. Some other guy did. It was several GOP people that's mad at Tucker Carlson instead of saying, you know what, it was a lie. So what does that tell you? And another thing I want to say, the reason they could keep making everybody think that it was so horrible, because I noticed this once Tucker started showing the videos, is every time they would show this on the news, they would show outside. All that stuff going on outside. You saw the smoke bombs and all the people standing all over the Capitol, all up on on top there. They call it. It was a siege. It was a siege on the Capitol. Well, when you keep showing that, but you notice they never showed the inside. Okay, they just showed that, and it looked bad. It looked bad from now. It did. It looked like it was really something. But what it did was put in the mind of people that what went on the outside also went on the inside. That's how they could keep saying that, because the optics of it. If you see all that on the outside and you think, wow, look at that. They went on the inside and did the same thing. But when they show the inside, people just walking around with the flags. See, that's the difference. So you can't tell me they didn't see the other footage. They just didn't show you the other footage because they wanted you to concentrate on what was going on outside. So that you, in your mind, you would transfer that inside and said, oh man, that was something. So they said they breached the Capitol. It was a siege on the Capitol building, and they breached it. Those are the words they kept using, siege and breached. But then you see Capitol Police opening the doors, different doors, and ushering them in. So was that a breach? Did all those people breach? And then the people that's really walking through with the flags are not the same ones that's on the outside, because some of the ones that was on top of the building and hidden windows, and those are Antifa people. There was private citizens videos 2 years ago showing those people trying to bust through the windows, and Trump supporters saying, stop Antifa, don't do that, Antifa. They're saying, don't do that. Then you got one guy going to the Capitol Police saying, stop them. You see what they're doing to our building? Why don't you stop them? These are private videos that private citizens posted on Twitter 2 years ago. So you know that it was not Trump supporters tearing. Let me tell you why Trump supporters don't destroy anything. Because we know we paid for it. Taxpayers paid for that. And we respect our capital. That's the people's capital. Trump supporters don't destroy buildings and burn them down. We're responsible people. Antifa will. That's why they had no problem paying them to do it. Antifa and Black Lives Matter, look at all the buildings they burned down and tore down. That means nothing to them because they don't have jobs. They don't work. They don't pay for anything. That's why they don't respect property. So it's easy to get them to, okay, we're going to pay y'all to put on Trump gear and get in the crowd and do all this, and they'll think Trump supporters did it. But when you saw the real Trump supporters, they were walking through that Capitol building with their flags peacefully. They were not tearing up anything. But I want to get back to the GOP. GOP, those people that got angry, they hate Trump. And you know who else they hate? They hate us. Because Trump wouldn't still be on the forefront if it wasn't for us. Trump never would have won the first election without us. And he won the second election. We know that as well. But we're the problem. So that's why they were glad that all those people in jail, they're glad. The GOP don't care about them. They said, good, I'm glad they're in jail. Those are Trump supporters. They don't care. So that is why I want you to take care when you think about who you're going to vote for. You need to do your research, people. You need to do your research because they're trying to fool Trump supporters with a counterfeit. They're showing you the disdain they have for us, to get angry when the truth comes out, because they wanted to keep saying Trump supporters destroyed the Capitol building. Trump supporters breached the Capitol building. Trump supporters did this. This is the word. This is the narrative. And I want you to think about that when you think about who you're going to vote for. These people don't care anything about us. They don't. The only person, people say, well, you love Trump. Let me tell you why I love Trump. I don't love Trump for no reason. I'm not part of no cult. I have a record I can refer back to. Now, when Trump was running in 2016, I liked him, and I liked what he was saying. So I said, well, I'm going to vote for him because I believe he'll do it. And then he got in office and did it. So I'm supposed to turn my back on somebody that did exactly what they said they were going to do, when I have been voting for Republicans for years who did not. They made me think they were going to do it. But when somebody actually did it, they got mad at the person that actually did it. What does that say? If you're supposed to be a Republican, you have been a president, you've been a presidential candidate, and then when a president gets in office and does exactly what he says he's going to do, you hate him. What does that say? What does that say about you? So that's why I said be careful. Be careful who you vote for. Do your homework, do your research. Don't let these people dupe you into a counterfeit, because they don't care anything about you. Because if they did, they would have corrected the lie. They would have been glad that when the truth was shown about January 6th. Instead, they got angry. Have a blessed day.